Hello and welcome to Big Orbit's Cardfight Vanguard weekly update. My name is James and today I'll be going through the cards throughout the past 6 days. I would normally do it on a Friday, but I am not working tomorrow, so I thought I'd do it one day earlier, but still there is a lot of stuff to talk about. Normally I'd start off with talking about the new cards, but I think it's important to mention the new gift types. They are still for Force, Protect and Excel, but you now have the choice of what you want to use with this new variation of marker. The new Force marker doesn't give power and instead gives the unit placed on it 2 critical. It can be placed on Vanguard Circle and Rearguard Circle, and it works nicely especially with Dragonic Overlord, who can go in for 2 attacks with threatening criticals. The Axel marker still creates a new circle, but it only gives plus 5000 power instead. The upside is when you create it you also draw a card, which helps the decks live a little longer and really helps Gold Paladin, who's superior called from hand. Lastly, we have the Protect marker that instead of it going to your hand, it is placed on Rearguard Circle and gives the unit on that circle plus 5000 power and plus 10,000 shield. This does take effect during your opponent's turn too, to keep your important units safe from attacks, and it does stack. Onto the actual cards, we have Link Joker's Obstruction Claw Ghastly Nail. The first skill is continuous Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. During your turn, this unit gets plus 5000 power for each of your locked cards. This means that even if you go heavily into the locked field to get benefits later on, you can still get a similar amount of power than you normally would if he was boosted. He also gets Auto Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, costs Soul Blast 1, and you may put a card from your hand to your Rearguard Circle as locked. If you did, draw a card. That is a very useful skill, and you still get what you want on the field, but you're not losing anything, and you're powering Ghastly Nail up at the same time. Deep Scorpius is another grade 3, but doesn't have a gift, and his skill is Auto Vanguard Circle when placed, costs Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards with the highest grade among them, bind it face down, and you get to draw the same number of cards as the grade of that unit. This is really good, but it's likely that you'll only get 2 draws off, because your opponent's likely only going to have a grade 2 at the most. Still though, it only works on Vanguard Circle with no gift. It's really hard to want to put this in the deck because of that. Finally for Link Joker, we have the grade 2 Envelop Panther. The skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, if you have a locked card, costs Soul Blast 1, and this unit and one of your Vanguards get plus 10,000 power until the end of the turn. Yet again, this really helps with the heavily locked field. It has a pretty small cost for giving 2 units plus 10,000 power. This is a good opportunity to use the new Force gift to get another critical as well. On to Nova Grappler, we have the VR Spinning Valiant. He's a hero. First skill is Continuous Vanguard Circle. All units can only attack the Vanguard. This does affect your units too, but this is really useful for keeping your rear guards alive. His second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, if your front row has 4 or more units until the end of the turn, this unit gets plus 10,000 power. Then, cost Counterblast 4. When your opponent would call cards from his or her hand to Guardian Circle, he or she must call 3 or more at the same time. That lasts until the end of the turn. So although you need to attack with your Vanguard first, your opponent still needs to guard with 3 or more cards against your rear guards too. It's an extremely powerful move. The downside is high Counterblast, but being Nova Grappler you may be able to countercharge enough to use it a second time, or at least to use your other skills. The strategy should be, as soon as you get a hero player to 3 damage, try and deal the other 3 in one turn as much as you can, otherwise you'll regret it. Girly Dolly is another hero grade 3 and has the skill of Continuous Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. If you have 5 or more heroes on Rearguard Circle, all of your guardians get plus 10,000 shield. This makes use of Spinning Valiant's skill for things to only attack the Vanguard, as it will allow this skill to more likely be active. And it does stack, so you can give units up to 40,000 shield if you're extremely lucky. The grade 2 for heroes is Stylish Hustler. His first skill is Auto Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. When your other rearguard is retired by the ability of your opponent's card, cost Soul Blast 1, and return one of those cards to your hand. This is extremely useful for Nova Grappler, as one of the big problems they have is if they lose their field, they're in a lot of trouble. It does mean this unit will be the first target for retiring. This does make use of the promo Outer Princess JC though, that we saw a while ago, who redirects Choose effects to herself. Hustler also has Auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, this unit gets plus 3000 power until the end of the turn for each card in your damage zone. Nova Grappler could use this power, and this skill is pretty flexible, being able to be used with Maximum Riser and Azure Dragon for a strong card to restand. Lastly, for this week's heroes, we have the Grade 1 Spin Kid. His skill is Auto Vanguard Circle when ridden from Grade 0, costs reveal a spinning Valiant from your hand, and deal 1 damage to you and your opponent's Vanguard. Not only is this good for the aggro rush, but it allows you to get closer to using Spinning Valiant's skill. The stylish hustler will benefit from the damage too. That's the end of the heroes for this week, but there are still a couple of Nova Grappler cards. We have the RRR Ultra Beast Deity Illuminal Dragon. The first skill is Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle that your rearguard attacked and does not hit, costs counterblast 1, stand that unit, and it gets plus 10,000 power until the end of the turn. Attack your opponent's Vanguard with that unit. This skill Beast Deities will make good use of the Accel markers, the new ones, as if they're getting skills that activate on miss, then they can sacrifice the power for that extra draw. The second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle Rearguard Circle once per turn. When your other unit's attack hits, this unit gets plus 15,000 power until the end of the turn. This is likely to happen in Accel, and it doesn't even need to hit the Vanguard. This working on Rearguard Circle is so good, and it can get to a ridiculous front row. There is also the RR Grade 2 Beast Deity Eclair Dragon. The skill is Auto Rearguard Circle when placed during your main phase. If you have a Grade 3 Vanguard with Beast Deity in its card name, cost Counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand. This unit gets plus 3000 power until the end of the turn, and attacks your opponent's Vanguard. If that attack did not hit, stand this unit. Just more main phase attacking for the deck, which works really well on Accel circles. And with the Luminal Dragon, it means a lot more because if it hits, then your opponent is going to have to go against some huge units during the battle. Kagro get a few cards this week. Firstly, they get the Grade 3 Lava Blast Dragon. Its skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle that it attacked Vanguard, put a card named Dragon Knight Fahim and Dragon Knight Nasser, who we will see in a minute, from your Rearguard Circle, each into your soul. Stun this unit, and it gets plus 15,000 power until the end of the turn. Like Overlord, this will make good use of the new Force trigger, going in for 2 attacks at 2 critical, and putting units into your soul can be more beneficial than discarding, as you can replay on place abilities like retiring rearguards and gaining power. Dragon Knight Fahim is the Grade 2 with continuous rearguard circle. During your turn, if you have a Grade 3 rearguard, this unit gets plus 10,000 power and makes it feel a lot less bad to get rid of him on attack, as missing triggers to give your rearguards always sucks, but if they're going in for big power anyway, it doesn't matter as much. And yet again, giving the new Force gift can be very good. Dragon Knight Nasser is a Grade 1 and has Auto Rearguard Circle when placed. If you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard, cost Soul Blast 1, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck and call up to 1 Grade 3 from among them to Rearguard Circle and shuffle your deck. Superior Calling in Kagro is pretty useful, and like I was saying, Lava Blast Dragon, you will be able to replay these on places, with this one giving you a pretty nice plus, and also activating Dragon Knight Fahim's skill. Progenitor Dragon of Total Purity, Agnos, is the first of the new Nation Dragons from the premium collection that we've seen. This is of course for the United Sanctuary, and you may only stride it by discarding a card with the same name as your Vanguard, and it has continuous G-Zone. This unit cannot be turned face up by abilities. If this card is face up, you can stride it without paying the stride cost. This helps later on if you get unlucky with drawing Grade 3s, or if you just want to keep the cards you have in hand. It also has Auto Vanguard Circle when placed, costs Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, call as many cards from your hand to all Rearguard Circle as possible, and draw 3 cards. This does mean you'll likely be calling over a few units, but does great against heavy retire, allowing you to keep a sizable hand for defense. And also, if you only have 1 card in your hand, then you superior call the 1 and you draw 3. Dragon Empire get theirs with Progenitor Dragon of Lightning Flame, Gilgal. It has the same first 2 of skills, and the third skill of Act Vanguard Circle costs Counterblast 2 and Soul Blast 1. Until the end of the turn, this unit battles all of your opponent's units in 1 attack. And it gets plus 10,000 power, and Auto Vanguard Circle when its attack hits, countercharge 1, and this on hit works for each card it hits, so you could end up countercharging more than you counterblasted. Dragon M's don't tend to countercharge as much as the other nations, so getting all of those resources back is really helpful, and as you can see, the Dragon Empire one and the United Sanctuary one are sort of counterparts of each other, as they should be. Speaking of Dragon Empire, Kagro's stride unit from this set is Flare General Dumjid Valor. He has Blaze and Auto Vanguard Circle when placed, cost Counterblast 1 and turn a card from your G-Zone face up, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and this unit gets plus 15,000 power until the end of the turn for each Sentinel in your drop zone. Nothing too fancy, but it also has the skill of auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. When your opponent's Sentinel or G-Guardian is placed, you may play stand this blazing unit and it gets drive -1 until the end of the turn. Doing that essentially free is incredible and will really stop your opponent from wanting to G-Guard. Gold Paladin gets Golden Dragon Spear Rex Dragon. It has Act, G-Zone, Unite. If your Vanguard is grade 3, cost Counterblast 2 and discard a card from your hand, and stride this unit on Vanguard Circle from face down. So you can use this skill even if you're the first to ride grade 3, really following the Ezel's turbo way of playing, and combining this with Ezel is just silly as you can stride at turn 2. And it also has Act, Vanguard Circle once per turn, cost Soul Blast 1 and turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, call 2 cards from among them to rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. It's not an overly fancy move, but it doesn't need to be when you can stride this so early in the game. Lastly for the strides, we have Complete Beauty, Amaruda Aphros for Genesis. She has Revelation and Act, Vanguard Circle once per turn, cost Counterblast 1 and turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Until the end of the turn, one of your rear guards gets plus 10,000 power and plus 1 critical. If your soul has 4 or less cards, draw 2 cards and soul charge 5. This sets up the game nicely, and she also has Auto Vanguard Circle at the end of the battle that attack to cost Soul Blast 15, stand one of your rear guards, and until the end of the turn your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand. A huge blast cost, but choosing the same unit you chose for the first skill makes it a really big threat. Both Goddess of Favorable Wind Ninil for the power and Angelic Wiseman for the extra attacks work fantastically with this card. Finally, for some news on some upcoming sets, we finally get to see the new Blast Dark Art for the start decks that are coming out. And now we know the new critical trigger for Shadow Paladin will be Grim Revenger, and the new critical for Royal Paladin will be Future Knight Lu. We also have news on 2 booster sets, the first one being BTO5, Liberation of the Heavenly Stallion. It will have support for Royal Paladin, Gold Paladin, Oracle Think Tank, Nubatama and Narukami. And the cover art shows Gancelot, presumably Solitary Knight Gancelot. And one would assume that he's Liberator from the name of the set, but he's never been a Liberator with silver armor. So it could be the case that it could just be for namesake, but we may still see Liberators in this set, such as Garmor, which would be nice to see him with a decent skill. We also get to see a sneak peek at the BTO6 Second Coming of the Phantasmic Stallion, which has support for Shadow Paladin, Murakumo, Dark Irregulars and Pale Moon. And the cover art shows Mordred, which is most likely Illusionary Revenger Mordred Phantom. Seeing Revengers makes it even more likely that we'll see Liberators now. For Gold Paladin, it would have also made sense to see Jewel Knights, as those were the 3 Paladin subclans of the time, but with Gancelot there, it's not looking too likely for that. And that's everything for this week. Be sure to check out next week when I'll be going through the cards shown throughout the next 8 days, as it will be going back to normal next week, and be sure to let me know what you think about the new cards revealed this week. Hope to see you next time. Bye!